All right, now we transition over to the Westgate Super Contest selection segment. My thoughts for Week 13 here in the Super Contest. And I like the Bills on Thursday. I like the Saints on Thursday. Didn't play either one of them. Would have been 2-0 to start the week. Now I got to try and figure out 5 plays from Saturday or from Sunday and Monday. And I hate this week's NFL cards. So shame on me for not being ready to go with the picks here for Thursday. But again, the difficulty being when you play that Thursday game, you got to figure out your whole Sunday card as well. So it does make it very, very difficult to get involved here with those Thursday night games. So wish I would have done it. Wish I was 2-0. But unfortunately here, one of the things that needs to change in these contests is that the Super Contest lines came out on their regular time on Wednesday. The Circa Million usually releases Thursday morning. They released a day early. They released Wednesday afternoon. Kudos to them for that. But this needs to be changed. This policy needs to be different. The Super Contest needs to get these lines out earlier. Because not only do you run into the holidays, but the vast majority of the field for the Super Contest uses a proxy. And you have to respect the proxy's deadlines. And I fully understand that. I don't blame the proxies for setting different deadlines with the Thanksgiving holiday. I mean, obviously, they want time with their families too. And, it's a time-consuming process to put in a lot of picks. The Super Contest needs to be cognizant of that and either release these lines during the day on Wednesday or get them out on Tuesday night. It is bullshit that you've got maybe 12 hours to get your picks to your proxy. When you're trying to sort through everything, probably plan some holiday travel or whatever else, and you're kind of handcuffed in terms of using the Thursday games. I wasn't ready to fire on the full card. In retrospect, I should have just taken my chances because there were 2 sides I like on Thursday, but this needs to be changed. This policy needs to be more friendly for the contestants. Hopefully it's something that does change, at least the Circa giving you, a little less than 24 hours time with your proxy. Super Contest giving you 12. This needs to change. You're talking about, the very small margins here in this contest between cashing or not. We're not going to cash. But if you're a half point or a point out of the money here, and you've got this hurried Thanksgiving schedule, things need to change. They need to give more lead time with the opportunity to put in your selections. So, I'm probably this would fall on deaf ears if I said anything, but this policy needs to change. With the popularity of these contests, and again, with so many people using a proxy service, you need to get these lines out earlier for people. You need to give them more of an opportunity to play these Thursday games and also have more time to look at the card. Because you're not just talking about one Thursday game here where maybe you've got to handicap one game. You got to handicap 3 games. This needs to change, and hopefully it does for next season. In any event, maybe it's just sour grapes for me. Went 1-4 in the Super Contest last week. Now 28-31-1 for the season. Our other Super Contest entry, the .com entry, 0-5, 28-30-2 for the season. Last week, the Super Contest field 52.42%, now 49.28 for the season. Consensus last week goes 9-5, now 75-93-4. Top 5, 4-1, now 30-28-2. Over in the Super Contest Gold, 55.75% last week, 50.34% for the season. Both of our Circa Million entries going 0-5 last week, 27-32-1 for me, 31-26-3 for the BangTheBook.com-1 entry. The field last week, 52.19% in the Circa, 49.99% year to date. And admittedly, maybe this is on me a little bit, I had a hard time getting back into the NFL card for this week. After a combined 1-9 in the Super Contest and the Circa, the fourth quarter starts this week in the Circa, our last chance to do anything in either one of these contests. It's very difficult, to keep going in these things when you know that you're not going to make any money. 25 picks left to go. Going to keep doing it for pride. Going to keep doing it because, the name of the website is on our entries there, but very difficult to get back into it after such a bubble bursting week. And, I already had one of those with the 0-5 back in week 8, now a 1-4 here in week 12. It's a very difficult thing. And, there's no margin for error in this contest. And, I talk about this a lot here, and I'm not going to get into a long rant about this on the show because I'm trying to keep things a little bit quicker here on today's program. the mental side of this industry, of this business, can really wear you down. And, you put so much time and effort and emphasis into the NFL, and, it's already frustrating enough having to pick 5 games a week, because there are weeks where maybe I like 6 or 7 games in the NFL. Maybe I like 2 or 3, and I have to get to 5 no matter what. And that's frustrating. And that drains you mentally a little bit, because you're trying to decide between these razor thin leans, picks that maybe you don't really like a whole lot, and you got to put them out there anyway. And again, the margin for error is so small in this contest, really so small in this business, unless you're looking at it from a very long-term perspective. It's a hard thing to do. And when you have a bad week, and in particular a week that kind of cements your fate, it's very hard to get off the mat and keep going here with the Super Contest. And that's something that a lot of people fall into in the Super Contest here, because, again, only the top 100 plus ties get paid out of 3,328 entries. So there's going to be upwards of 3,200 people that don't make anything in this contest. And that's tough. It's tough to put forth your $1,500 and to put so much effort and time and emphasis into this contest, and to know that by week 13, you're not going to make any money. And even before that, for some people, it's a real challenge. So hoping to get back on track here a little bit. Again, trying to finish this thing strong for pride, for the name, so to speak, on the front of the jersey with our Bang the Book entries. So hopefully things do work out a little bit better here for this week. As always, I like to mention the line differences between the Super Contest and the Circa Million. Buccaneers -1 in the Super Contest, a pick'em over in the Circa. Jets -3 in the Super Contest, -3.5 in the Circa. Browns -2 in the Super Contest, 2.5 in the Circa. Patriots -3 in the Super Contest, 3.5 in the Circa. So the Circa throwing half points on the key number of 3 with that Jets-Bengals game, with that Patriots-Texans game, certainly going to alter the dynamics in that contest where you get the hook. We saw the hook play a big role in terms of the pick counts for that Ravens and Rams game last week. Didn't wind up factoring into the equation at all whatsoever in that game, but I did wind up on the Rams in the Circa because that hook was there. One of my 5 losing picks over in that. But again, the Circa releasing their lines early Wednesday morning, the Super Contest Wednesday night, as they always do. So that explains some of the differences here with the lines between the two contests. So again, not really a card I like a whole lot here in the Super Contest or the Circa Million for this week. But we start with number 17 here. That is the Kansas City Chiefs. They are a 10-point favorite against the Oakland Raiders. I get it. It's a square side. It's a public side. But I'm going to lay it with Kansas City here. Andy Reid, in his last 27 games off of a bye, 22-4-1 to the under. So what that tells me is that Andy Reid knows how to game plan for the opposition coming out of a bye week. Game plans with the best of them. And as we know, the Raiders need to score points to be competitive. They cannot win a defensive struggle. They've got to be able to move the football and put up some points of their own. And I don't think they're going to be able to do it here in this game. Raiders defense 4th in yards after catch allowed. Patrick Mahomes, of course, two more weeks removed from that knee injury that he had. Raiders are 29th in adjusted net yards per pass attempt against. The Chiefs, big game for them. They want that 2-game edge in the division. So this is one that they're obviously fully focused for. A lot of game planning here over the last 2 weeks for this one. And a back-to-back on the road for the Raiders. And the Raiders have traveled so much here so far this season. We know what they played away from home, for 5 of 6 weeks. They had a bye in between. But this is a team, you look at their schedule here. Early on, couple of home games, Denver and Kansas City. At Minnesota, at Indianapolis, London game against Chicago, bye week, at Green Bay, at Houston. Then they got to play 3 home games in a row, one of them on a short week against the Chargers. Now back-to-back roadies with the Jets, with the Chiefs. We know Arrowhead's a very tough place to play. Big game for Kansas City here. Big game for Andy Reid. And again, Andy Reid does a great job off the bye holding down the opposition's offense. So it's square, it's public, it's a big number, but Kansas City -10 going to be one of the games on my card here for this week in the Super Contest. Next up, number 28, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are +2 against the Cleveland Browns. And look, I hate going against the hometown team, but the Steelers have a big edge in the trenches here even without Marquise Pouncey. The Browns, no Myles Garrett. Olivier Vernon's still hurt. Joe Schobert not in the trenches, but he's been limited in practice. He's one of the best run stoppers in the NFL. He would be a big loss for the Browns. And also no practice for left tackle Greg Robinson this week. So the Browns likely missing their left tackle. They've had all sorts of problems on the offensive line already, in particular at the tackle position when Greg Robinson hasn't played. And when you think about when the Browns were really struggling early on in the year, yeah, the schedule played a role, but Baker Mayfield wasn't stepping up confidently in the pocket, throwing off his back foot, had some happy feet. He was bailing early. Now he's not going to have Robinson protecting that blind side. The Steelers, we know how good their pass rush is. Second in quarterback hits. They're second to the Saints, who just played last night. So once Pittsburgh gets another game in, they'll lead the NFL in quarterback hits. They're fifth in yards per carry allowed, so the Browns may have problems running the football here. Fourth in adjusted net yards per pass attempt against. Second in pressure percentage. Third in quarterback knockdown percentage. Fourth in hurry percentage. This is not a great matchup for the Browns, in particular with their offensive line concerns and with how Baker Mayfield has looked throughout the season. Yeah, he's played pretty well here of late, but the happy feet, the interceptions, the inaccurate throws to guys that are open, not leading receivers, tip balls getting picked, a lot of those things could come back to the Browns offense here this week with Baker facing a very stiff pass rush. I know Mason Rudolph is terrible. I don't know if Devlin Hodges is that big of an upgrade, but I think at least emotionally for the Steelers, Duck Hodges feels like an upgrade to them. Some of the players wanted to make that switch. He probably won't hurt them as much as Mason Rudolph was. And I think in this game, where the Steelers have these advantages in the trenches and where the defense can make some plays for them, I think competency from the quarterback position is a big upgrade. So Steelers +2, number 28 in the SuperContest rotation order, on my list of very likely picks here for Week 13. Finally, number 32, the Minnesota Vikings. They are +3 in the SuperContest on Monday Night Football against the Seattle Seahawks. I'm always scared of the Russ factor. I'm always scared of Russell Wilson. He's a guy that makes plays. He's a phenomenal player, as we know. I mean, he's an MVP candidate. He's the reason why the Seahawks are having the season that they are. But we've got a situation here on Monday Night Football where the better team is getting points. And I get it. It's a long trip to Seattle. It's Monday Night Football, the 12th man, so on and so forth. But this Seahawks defense, is very poor. 14 fumble recoveries on the season have been a really big saving grace for this Seattle defense. The Vikings don't blitz a lot. They don't sell out. They're not going to get back there in Russell Wilson's kitchen too much, but they play really well in base coverage. That's going to give Russ tighter windows to throw. And I think, too, when you don't have a team that blitzes a whole lot, an improv quarterback may not have as much success. The Vikings defense is better against the run than the Seahawks defense is. The Vikings have scored on 42.7% of their possessions. The Seahawks have scored on 36.8%, even though they've had the sixth best starting field position on average this season. So they've scored on about 6% fewer of their possessions. They're sixth in starting field position. The Vikings are 16th. So the Vikings sustaining a lot of drives, moving the football, even being 16th in average starting field position. The Vikings on the season are third in points per drive. This Minnesota offense has been very, very good. Kirk Cousins has played very well in this Kevin Stefanski scheme. They move the football. They score more points. They win this game outright. They certainly cover the +3. Give me number 32, the Minnesota Vikings, +3 this week in the SuperContest. So my three very likely picks here: Chiefs -10, number 17, Steelers +2, number 28, Vikings +3, number 32. So we wrap things up here for the SuperContest segment with a couple of leans. And again, obviously, I'm only going to talk about 5 games here. Like the 2 Thursday games, wish I would have played them. Maybe this is my 5-play card, but I got to do more digging on this card because I'm just not seeing a whole lot to like here with a lot of these games. But on the leans list here this week, number 10, the Washington Redskins, they are +10 against the Carolina Panthers here. And I got a real hard time with a team laying doubles with a negative yards per play margin. Carolina minus 0.3 yards per play. They're laying double digits here against Washington. Kyle Allen, the most sack yardage in the NFL, and he's only started 9 of the games. Redskins 4th in pressure percentage, 3rd in hurry percentage. They haven't always got there. They don't grade all that well in terms of sack rate, but they're at least altering the pocket, disrupting the opposition a little bit. And Kyle Allen has really been regressing here for the most part. Played well against the Saints last week with the 3-0 touchdown interception ratio, but for the most part, he's definitely had his issues here, over his last 6 or 7 starts. The first 2 games he was great. Last week he was great. In between, a lot of pretty pedestrian numbers to, below average numbers for Kyle Allen. If Ryan Kerrigan was a lock to go, the Redskins would be a pick for me. But he's such a disruptive force in that pass rush. Seems like he's probably not going to be able to go because of a concussion. So that worries me a little bit here in this game because they're taking away one of the angles I've really isolated for this game. But Washington's done a good job limiting yards after the catch. Carolina 28th offensively on 3rd down. It's hard to get margin if you can't stay on the field and you can't create big plays. And this Carolina defense has not played all that well over the course of the season. Redskins maybe getting a little bit of confidence last week with that victory. Again, they don't have to win the game. They just have to keep this game close for me. And if they get enough negative plays with some sacks, if they get Carolina off the field on 3rd down and Carolina getting themselves off the field a lot on 3rd down, very tough to win by margin here. So Redskins plus 10, number 10 in the SuperContest rotation order on my list of leans here for this week. Finally, number 30, the Houston Texans plus 3. It's a big step up in class for this Patriots secondary. Again, this Patriots offense, not great, as I've talked about several times over throughout the season here. If they get into a little bit of a shootout, a little bit of an arms race with Deshaun Watson and the Houston offense, can they hold up? Houston, I don't like Bill O'Brien. I don't like his play calling. That's the problem I have here. It's Bill O'Brien versus the GOAT. It's Bill O'Brien versus Bill Belichick. You've got the GOAT, all in lowercase letters, against the GOAT, all in capital letters. That's what worries me here. Can Bill O'Brien have a good game plan to go up against the Patriots and Bill Belichick? And I don't know if that's the case. So that's what holds me back here. Obviously, it's more attractive in the Circa where you are getting the 3.5 number. But again, this is a big step up for the Patriots defense, who has great numbers, but early on in the year, they played a lot of tomato can quarterbacks. This week, they played Deshaun Watson, who's a much different type of animal. Hopkins versus Gilmore, worth the price of admission here. I don't love Bill O'Brien, like I mentioned, but the Texans are running for 5 yards per carry. So, we'll see. You can run on the Patriots a little bit. That is something you can do with that defense. You can run on them some. Does Watson make enough plays for them to, cover this number or win the game? I think it's a possibility. So Texans plus 3 on my short list here. So the 2 leans, Redskins plus 10, Texans plus 3. The 3 very likely picks, Chiefs minus 10, Steelers plus 2, Vikings plus 3 for week 13 in the SuperContest.